This might not go well for me, but one of the hottest feuds in the United States Wrestling Association in the early 1990s was Mentor versus Protégé, the man who trained Stone Cold Steve Austin, Chris Adams, versus his trainee, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, it is interesting for Chris Adams, as the only other time we've seen Chris Adams is when he stepped to the Heartbreak Kid in a battle of the Super Kick and defeated Shawn Michaels in the battle of a Super Kick. For that, to put that into perspective. But now Chris Adams is stepping into the Texas Rattlesnake, and it might be a different result. If it isn't, then I think Chris Adams may be putting himself in top contention for the 10 pounds of gold, baby. Big shotgun dropkick by Chris Adams out of the corner, but still a quick kick out by the Texas Rattlesnake. The Rattlesnake has got an answer for everything thus far from Chris Adams, but Chris Adams harkens back and stops the stomping a mud hole and walking it dry. The reality of the situation is flatliner by Chris Adams. The reality of the situation is when Austin and Chris Adams feuded back in the early 1990s, it was when Austin still had hair. So a lot has changed in 30 years since Chris Adams and Steve Austin last feuded with one another. Pounded on the back, Chris Adams of Steve Austin. He is legitimately pounded on the back of the gentleman. He went for the roundhouse elbow, did Chris Adams, but Steve Austin again had his arms up, blocked him. Chris Adams blocked Steve Austin. Got shot by Chris Adams. Nice Northern Light suplex. A slight hesitation, it looked like, from my perspective, it looked like the referee slightly hesitated to start the 1-2-3. I don't know if that was a fisherman buster or a vertical suplex, but it looked like a cross between the two. I also gotta say, I gotta applaud whoever created Chris Adams, because whoever created gentleman Chris Adams did a wonderful job creating a man who does not get as much credit as he deserves, as being a top star, for being a top star in the territory days, and what he gave to the business, giving us, indirectly, one of the biggest stars in the industry in Stone Cold Steve Austin. Because without him, who would have trained the Texas Rattlesnake? Austin's got to do more. Austin's got to do more if he wants to take out his trainer. Because the old saying goes, I may have taught you everything, but I didn't taught you. I may have taught you everything you know, but I didn't teach you everything I know. And this is Chris Adams' chance to prove that Austin does not know everything that the gentleman knows, and that he still has some to learn. But Chris Adams gets reversed out of the vertical suplex, but he reverses Austin back, goes for the elbow again, and Austin reverses him. Chris Adams reverses him back. It's a back and forth affair between Adams and Stone Cold Steve Austin. Variation of the judo hip toss, stunner. Variation of the judo hip toss, but a stunner. As the referee's hand was coming down for the 3, Chris Adams kicks out. Chris Adams kicks out at the count of 2 and 9.99 repeating. Austin comes off the top rope, shades of Rick Rude with a diving knee, but Chris Adams sees it coming and moves out of the way. The one move that I dislike more than anything else in the world, it is the Canadian Destroyer, because the reason is I liked it better when it was one person's finisher, not everyone's false finish, because it distorts the importance of the move and the spectacular nature of the sight seeing it, like we did when we would just see Petey Williams do it back in the day. When Petey Williams was the only one doing it, it felt special, it felt different, it felt unique. But now, with everybody doing it, that good feeling I felt when I saw it, it's just like anything else. Into the corner goes the Rattlesnake. Again, Chris Adams eats the corner, and Austin takes him down with a shoulder block. Are we gonna mid-ring collision by Austin and Chris Adams? I thought we might have seen. I thought we may have seen the Thez press. Chris Adams ties him up in the corner, attacking the arm of the Rattlesnake. Rattlesnake moves to the outside. Chris Adams finally gets to the floor. Both men hesitate to punch each other, but Chris Adams takes the opportunity and punches him again. Another variation of what I call the judo hip toss by Chris Adams. Adams sends him back into the glitched part of the ring. Sends him flying with a variation back suplex. Into the announcer's table and follows it up with a Northern Light. Picture perfect, I might say. Picture perfect, I might add. Is Chris Adams actually going to try and count out his trainee? Is Chris Adams actually going to try and count out his protege? We are at the count of 6. Austin has got to get himself back up and get back in the ring. Austin has got to get himself back into the ring. He gets back into the ring at the count of 8. Gourd Buster by gentleman Chris Adams. Austin pops back up. Austin pops back up. I think Chris Adams had it cocked. Chris Adams had it in his arsenal, and that's what he had in his arsenal. The super kick. The super kick. The referee was out of position trying to run. It looked like the referee was trying to run a marathon there. But Austin kicked out of the super kick. Quick kick out by the Rattlesnake. Austin! Thez press! Thez press! Thez press by the Rattlesnake! Thez press by the Rattlesnake! Lateral press! And a 3! He finally put down Chris Adams, and all it took was Tommy Rich's finishing move. I mean, you gotta say that even though the match may have ended in the way that it did, it was still an impressive performance against one of the biggest stars in the industry by Chris Adams, showing what we saw it may not have had the intensity of what we saw back in the day in the USWA, but still, it gave insight. I hope it gave some insight into one of the premier rivalries of the Memphis territory in the back half of its shelf life. With that being said, if you want to see more unique content like this, there's only one thing to do, and that is like and subscribe down on the bottom, and wait for what comes next. With that being said, though, I'm done for the day, and I will see you in the next one.